Well, friends, the streaming wars have officially been going on for many years now, and I find myself asking the question, who's winning? And I don't mean in a monetary sense, although that's surely a topic worth exploring. No, today I wonder, who's winning the battle of quality? And watch me dodge the question immediately by saying, listen, that's clearly subjective. But allow me to make the case for Hulu, I guess. But it's not really Hulu that I want to toss flowers to. Today, I present to you the following thesis. FX kicks ass when it comes to originals. As a quick aside, in the small bit of research I did to make this video, I learned that although most FX shows seem to be available on Hulu, FX is not actually owned by Hulu. Rather, they're both owned by Disney. So I suppose in an indirect way, I'm supporting Disney by consuming and praising shows that technically fall under their umbrella. But I don't like that, and I'm sure most of you don't like that either. So let's all put on our hats of cognitive dissonance and pretend that's just not the case. And while yes, Disney does own this company, we can assume with a fair amount of confidence that they're allowed to operate autonomously. I mean, look at what FX produces and look at what Disney produces. So I feel good about praising the creativity and work of the people at FX without really praising the evil empire, which, as luck would have it, now works as both a metaphor and a literal truth. I've been on something of an FX journey of discovery ever since COVID fluttered its way into our lives on bat-like wings. So grab my hand, dear viewer, and come with me as we skip together down memory lane, and hopefully you'll see by the end why I think this studio rocks. All of the shows I'm about to mention deserve their own dedicated videos, and maybe I'll make those videos one day, but to keep ourselves on schedule here, we need to breeze through them. So if your favorite show is mentioned and you feel like it didn't get enough play, let me know in the comments and I'll consider making that my next project. It all began with Justified, a kick-ass modern western serial starring one Timothy Oliphant of Star Wars and Office fame and one Walton Goggins of Fallout fame. This show is a twist on the classic white hat lawman versus black hat outlaw, in that these two men are basically the same person. They're both angry, violent people who will do what needs doing in order to achieve their goals. Raylan bends and breaks the rules many times behind the pretense of his desire to uphold law and order. Boyd breaks the rules in direct defiance of said order. They're two sides of the same coin, as it were, which is interesting enough, but the banter they have with each other in this series is the stuff of TV legend.
There's still a sizable amount of money missing.
How sizable, Raylan?
Well over $10.
Well, now, if I found that kind of money, I'd be in Mexico by now.
Partner that, pun intended, with some incredible side characters and awesome shootouts, and you've got yourself a winner.
You ain't gonna shoot.
6 seasons, all of them great, and it ends on a brilliant high note. After binging through that bitch, we craved something a little more cosmopolitan. A city instead of the country. And the city we visit together now is home to some of the most obnoxious sport fans in the country. Have you guessed it yet? Let's get Philly with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This show surely needs no introduction. It has rightfully garnered a legendary reputation over the years as one of the sharpest, ballsiest, and most important, most hilarious sitcoms of all time. Pretty much any episode will make you laugh, and the gang is completely sociopathic and incapable of growth in a gloriously Seinfeldian fashion. Join me now on the 2-hour and 20-minute flight, yes, I looked that up, from the city of brotherly love to the city of Michael Jeffrey Jordan for our next stop, Chicago. Here we take a look at The Bear. Its 2 inaugural seasons are masterful. It centers on Carmi Berzato, a premier chef who moves back to his hometown after the tragic passing of his brother Mike. He inherits Mike's old dive restaurant and attempts to grapple with the stresses of running said restaurant, as well as confront his troubled past. Gorgeously shot, acted, and written, The Bear has incredible heart, humor, and substance. Season 3 admittedly does stumble a bit, but only by comparison to its near-perfect preceding seasons, which is to say, it's still damn good, if not as good. And I have every confidence that The Bear will find its full footing again in the 4th season. We have the rare opportunity here to be witnessing an all-time television masterpiece unfold before our eyes, and I wouldn't say that lightly. I really hope I haven't cursed the future of this show by saying that, but as of right now, the heights of The Bear is Breaking Bad level, Sopranos level, The Wire level stuff. Brrr. After that stay in Chicago, I feel kinda chilly. Also, after hanging out with all those high-strung, obsessive people, I need a little bit of a break. Let's go hang out with some laid-back, weed-smoking dudes in a warmer southern climate. Next stop, Atlanta. Almost surely the weirdest show on this list, and equally surely one of the few that will go down in the annals of television history as a wholly unique and pioneering venture. Follow Earn, Paperboy, and Darius as these 3 Atlanta boys, sans technically Darius, who's originally Nigerian, as he points out multiple times in the show,
Paris is Nigerian.
Here?
Attempt to make it big in the weird world of hip-hop. But that's only the very general premise, because with a plethora of bottle episodes, this show goes off into some territory that would make most creators shit their pants. Atlanta tackles heavy themes, politics, social issues, and often fantasy with such an effortless humor and intelligence that it's honestly astounding. To call this show funny is both an understatement and a misrepresentation of what you'll get out of it. Truth be told, I can't really summarize what I got out of it without taking 30 minutes to explain it. All I can say is, prepare for weird, but also for great. Some of the most legendary episodes of television call this show home, and you'd be a fool not to give it a try. In Season 3 of Atlanta, Paperboy and the gang take a flight across the Atlantic for a bit of adventuring. Let's do that too. And while we do, let's turn the plane into a flying DeLorean and hop back in time to 17th century Japan for the most recent show on this list, Shogun. Shogun has already cemented itself as a premier drama. It follows the adventures of John Blackthorne, an English privateer sent to disrupt the expanding Portuguese hold on the eastern world. Blackthorne is captured by Lord Toranaga and is shanghaied, wrong country I know, but for lack of a better word, is shanghaied into his service, as Toranaga attempts to maneuver his way through a dicey political landscape and oust the current power-hungry lords controlling Osaka. It's epic, violent, and full of political intrigue for those of you who miss the glory days of Game of Thrones. While it doesn't quite reach those seasons 1 through 4 heights, Shogun is still smart, slick, and more than worth your time in this year of our Lord 2024. While we're hopping through time and across continents, let's jump back in the DeLorean and head over to modern-day Australia for our next stop, Mr. Inbetween. I already made a dedicated video for this show, so go watch that after this. But this show is so nice, I'm going to talk about it twice. Mr. Inbetween is a slice-of-life drama about a bloke raising his daughter, helping his friends, courting his girlfriend, and moonlighting as a hitman and enforcer. This show has the unique honor amongst all the other shows on this list of having made me laugh out loud and cry actual tears from my eye holes. The emotional range in Mr. Inbetween is something that I did not expect, and truthfully, I don't think I've ever seen done as well in any other show I've ever watched. Its action also is filmed with such incredible realism and competence. Hell, the whole show exhibits incredible competence, from the filming to the acting to the writing. It's a masterwork. Watch it. Finally, we head back to the States to a Midwestern frozen hellhole called Fargo. It's taken me ages to get around to this show, but let me now say that I'm very glad I eventually did. At the time of recording, I've only finished Season 1, but my word was Season 1 really good. I think I finished all 10 hours of it in like 3 days. It perfectly captures the Minnesota nice, pitch-black humor and wild twists and turns of the original film. The characters in this are written just right, and Lorne Malvo is one of the best villains I've ever seen in TV or film. Holy shit, Billy Bob Thornton, I tip my hat to you. You'll notice I haven't given a synopsis for this show, and that's because to set the stage in any meaningful way would be to spoil something pretty big from the first episode. Content myself I must by simply saying this is a crime drama with a lot of black oddball humor and some excellent cinematography and performances. This brings us all the way up to today, and my FX journey rolls on. I'm currently working my way through Fargo Season 2, and so far, it's... I haven't even mentioned shows like The People vs. O.J. Simpson. I also haven't mentioned other acclaimed shows like The Shield, Sons of Anarchy, Wilfred, What We Do in the Shadows, or You're the Worst because I haven't seen them. To end this video, and since I'm an asshole who likes to stir the pot, let me rank these shows from worst to best to give you my scientific guide on what I think you should prioritize. Coming in last is Shogun. I guess if you feel pressure about being Mr. or Mrs. Current Events, you may want to watch this first since it's so new. But again, I don't think it eclipses the heights of other epic and violent political dramas that have come before. Plus, it gives me great pleasure to say something that might bother the weebs out there who only watch anime and other Japanese TV. But jokes aside, Shogun is an excellent show in its own right, and there's a reason it's on this list in the first place. In sixth, though it breaks my heart a little, I'm putting Fargo. I simply haven't watched enough of it to rank it above the rest of the list, but if you ask me in a few months, this answer could have totally changed. Fifth place goes to Always Sunny. If I'm being honest,
To be fair,
although I love this show, I find myself more consistently drawn to Silicon Valley and Curb Your Enthusiasm when I'm in the mood to watch something funny. But again, that takes nothing away from the quality and hilarity that is this show. It just had to go somewhere in this ranking, and fifth place it is. Fourth place is The Bear. Had the third season been as good as the first two, this could have taken the top spot, which is a testament to how perfect those first 2 seasons are. But until that 4th season comes out and we get a little bit of redemption.com, this is where it has to go. Our first podium show, and coming in at 3rd place, is Atlanta. Had you asked me at the beginning of my watch of Atlanta where I would have ranked it, I don't think I would have ranked it this high. But as I progressed through the consistent weirdness of its 4 seasons, I realized that though it may feel uneven compared to the rigid consistency I might expect from almost every other show I watch, Atlanta gets away with its unevenness. In fact, I think that it's actually one of Atlanta's major strengths. I've heard this show described as a great album, where the songs don't necessarily conform to one sound or style, but are all individually great nonetheless. That's Atlanta. And this style is so unique for the medium that it undeniably deserves a spot in the top 3. In 2nd place, we have Justified. It captures the spirit of Elmore Leonard perfectly, but also expands greatly on 2 of his characters that, to be frank, are much more flat in the books. Here we have an extremely rare example of something that actually surpasses the original source material upon which it is based. Justified is in the company of examples like The Witcher 3 or Johnny Cash's cover of Hurt, where the adaptation is actually better than the original. Boyd and Raylan form the best antagonistic duo that I can ever recall seeing in a show. The side characters and seasonal villains are almost equally compelling, and although I usually don't love shows that are as episodic as Justified can be, the intelligence with which the trick is pulled here is undeniable. As a result, this is one of my favorite shows of all time, and this is the modern Western everyone should be praising instead of bullshit Yellowstone. That leaves just one spot, and one show to rule them all, Mr. Inbetween. There's a reason it got its own dedicated video before any of these others. Everything I said about how perfect the first 2 seasons of The Bear are is also true for the first 2 seasons of Mr. Inbetween. The difference here is, the 3rd and final season is just as good. It's effortlessly effective in everything it sets out to do. Effortlessly funny, effortlessly cool, effortlessly emotional, effortlessly fantastic. To think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, and to think that every episode's screenplay and every episode's principal performance comes from this one dude, and to think that every episode was directed by this other one dude is astounding. Why these 2 haven't received more work in the business is beyond me, but you won't find a more cohesive and satisfying 3 seasons of television than this. Hopefully you're starting to see the absolute monster depth that this studio has achieved over the years with its original catalog. And not only is FX spoiled for riches with its quantity of good originals, it's embarrassingly spoiled for riches when you think about the quality of its best ones. All the shows I highlighted aren't just good, they're all great, with several of them being among, or just flat out, the best I've ever watched within their own niche. The only other studio that comes close to this level of consistency, in my opinion, is HBO, the granddaddy of this new high production era of television. But FX, with its many peaks, is keeping pace.